do this. It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indie Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indie Sports Ticket app.
What's going on? Welcome into the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indie Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indie Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, maybe watch it on Twitter, _ Jonathan Smith. If you want to watch the show there, you can also follow me there too. And you can also listen via that Indie Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you find your apps. And as always, if you want more from me, go check out the My Take Is YouTube page. Colts, baby. They're training together. There's videos of them celebrating the, Tyrese Haliburton game winner from the other night. And they seem excited. And there's video of Anthony Richardson completing 3-yard out routes, and Colts fans are excited about that for some reason. There's not as many videos of Daniel Jones, which I just find kind of funny. And things are slowly ramping up. They're together right now. They're working out. They're in shorts and T-shirts, which means everything. You can tell how good a football team is based on how they perform going up against nobody while wearing shorts and T-shirts. It's very, very valuable information. Now, Colts rookie minicamp starts tomorrow, May 9th, and it runs over the weekend, May 9th through 11th. I'm telling you right now, don't buy anything. Don't even think about it. You're going to see some story about some soon-to-be rookie, probably Tyler Warren. They're like, oh, this guy looks amazing. He just looks different. And that's cool. But I would like to take this time to remind you of what happened during Colts rookie minicamp last year. A.D. Mitchell was the story. He was the guy that everyone had a very high opinion on coming out of Colts rookie camp last year. He was making plays and creating separation and catching the ball in stride, and it's great. Then the regular season came around, and he barely played. What a surprise. The guy who was great against undrafted rookies didn't play. It's almost like that doesn't mean anything. And look, that's a good thing. Players that you take in the first, second, third, fourth round should all look great against undrafted players that you bring in for rookie camp to see what they've got. Okay? Like, your high draft picks should look good. Like, the reporters and the people who, cover the Colts during this, they should be infatuated with how Tyler Warren looks this year. And that's why I'm bringing this up, because they're going to be. But I just want to remind you that it means nothing. We're going to hear a ton about all of these different plays that he's making, one-handed grabs, and, like, they're probably not going to go full pad, so we won't hear anything about him blocking and being dominant on the line of scrimmage. But let's just be honest. Tyler Warren's going to walk out there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and he's going to beat up on a bunch of players that aren't going to be on NFL rosters when the season starts. Don't get caught up in it. It's going to mean nothing. Zero. I also hope, speaking of Tyler Warren, I don't know if you've been tracking this or not, but there's all this jersey stuff going on. Like the third overall pick, Abdul Carter, playing for the Giants. He asked Lawrence Taylor for, if he could wear his number. And Lawrence Taylor was like, absolutely not. And then he asked someone else, whoever wore number 11 for the Giants. And they're like, absolutely not. And I hope we don't get some jersey number saga with Tyler Warren. Obviously, Zaire Franklin currently wears number 44. If Zaire Franklin wants to give it to him, cool. If not, even better. I don't really care what number Tyler Warren wears. I just hope that he's good. And this whole thing with Abdul Carter asking for retired numbers is just dumb. Like, just get your own number. Build your own legacy. The best figures in the history of sports have their own number associated with them. When you see the number 23, you think of Michael Jordan. When you see the number 24, You probably think of Kobe Bryant. When I see the number 10, I think of Messi. 7, Ronaldo. 56, not 50 cents. 56 is Lawrence Taylor. 18 is Peyton Manning. 41 is Dirk Nowitzki. Get your own number and just own that number. I think the best example of this going right now is Luka Doncic. Number 77. That's his number. By the time he retires, when you see the number 77, you'll be like, oh, Luka Doncic. And that's cool. Taking someone else's number that already has a legacy built upon it is not cool. Be yourself. Build your own legacy. This is why I like Tyler Warren. Okay, he's not the type to make a big deal out of this. He's going to take some other number that's not 44, and he's going to be awesome. And if he's as good as everyone thinks that he's going to be, then whatever number he wears will be associated with him in Indianapolis for a long time. I hope that he's good enough to be that kind of a player. Like, that is a special level player. Peyton Manning's 18. Marvin Harrison's 81. Reggie Wayne is 87. Dwight Freeney's 93. Dallas Clark's 44, maybe. Those are the only 5 players, in the history of the Colts that I would directly associate with a number. I'm sure I'm leaving some people off. I would when it comes to the Pacers, I'd associate Reggie Miller with 31, maybe 7 with Jermaine O'Neal. That's probably it, though, for the Pacers. If Haliburton's here for forever, 0 is going to be Haliburton in the city of Indianapolis. And hopefully, when Tyler Warren's career is done, his number will be associated with him, and hopefully we hear that he dominated during rookie minicamp to get back on topic. Because that's what he should do. He's going to be the best player on the field by a mile. It's not going to be close. Because these guys that are first-round picks, believe it or not, they are first-round picks for a very specific reason. It's because they're awesome. It's because they look like Tyler Warren, 6'5", ripped, and very athletic. He should dominate starting tomorrow through Sunday at rookie camp. That's what he should do. He's going to be the best player on the field. We should hear stories of him jumping over 3 dudes in the end zone, and then hauling in a pass one-handed. He should be dominant. And honestly, I'm expecting to hear stories about how he's making all these crazy plays, and we're going to get some article that says Tyler Warren's going to unlock the Indianapolis Colts offense. Maybe. They got to have a quarterback who can throw the football first. That'll unlock the Colts offense, not Tyler Warren. But we're going to hear all these things, and we're going to read all these articles, and people are going to get really excited about Tyler Warren. Finally, the Colts have a good tight end again. But it means nothing. The competition he'll be competing against won't be NFL starting caliber players. Again, A.D. Mitchell had a great rookie camp last year. We heard about it a lot, all the time. And he barely played last year. The things that we're going to hear over these next 2 days mean absolutely nothing. In fact, to tell you how little they mean less than all these Anthony Richardson throwing videos that you've seen. I still can't believe that they posted that. Him throwing that like 3-yard out route, high and outside. A couple years ago, when the Miami Dolphins made that trade for Tyreek Hill, one of the major storylines was that's great, but Tua doesn't have the arm strength to like fully use Tyreek Hill. So this is a major storyline. People are actively discussing this. And the Miami Dolphins social media posted a video of Tyreek Hill blowing by a corner, Tua letting it rip and underthrowing him to a point where Tyreek Hill had to like stop. And then he caught it, and then he started running again. That video that the Indianapolis Colts posted, not the same thing, pretty similar. It's like, hey, here's this 3-yard out route. Watch our potential starting quarterback overthrow, or almost overthrow Josh Downs. Okay. I can't believe that they posted that. Also, have we seen any more Daniel Jones videos of him throwing the football? Because I've been looking for him. Don't really see him. I think it's funny because it's like, yeah, this is a quarterback competition, they say, as they then exclusively throw videos out of Anthony Richardson. I think they've only posted one of Daniel Jones. And look, I'm still very firmly in belief that Anthony Richardson will be the starting quarterback week 1 for the Indianapolis Colts. I'd be very surprised if he wasn't. But I don't know. Can we maybe not post videos of him barely completing a 3-yard pass to Josh Downs? Barely. Like just a terrible throw. Anyway, Joe C. Shout out Joe C. Who's in the YouTube chat every day. Go over to YouTube, Indie Sports Ticket, subscribe, hop in the chat, and join the conversation. He threw out some guys that own numbers with the Colts. I talked about that a little bit earlier. He said like 28 is associated with Marshall Faulk. 29 is associated with Eric Dickerson. The number 3 is associated with Vinatieri. That's a really good one. He also said, let's pump the brakes on expectations for Warren. I would agree with that because Tyler Warren, I think he's going to be great. I do. But receiver and tight end, they are position-dependent positions. Ultimately, that is what they are. Tyler Warren, how good or bad his year is going to be, it's going to be important for Anthony Richardson to have a good year because I get it. It's a quarterback competition, and it could be Daniel Jones. I don't think it will be. I'll be very surprised if it's Daniel Jones. And if the Colts are running a quarterback out there who can only complete like 58% of his passes, 60% of his passes, which would, be at the bottom of the league, then his numbers aren't going to be what we're expecting them to be. And honestly, I'm very intrigued to kind of see how they use Tyler Warren. He's going to be great, hopefully. That's the hope. But is he the kind of guy that you want Anthony Richardson throwing the ball to? Because when I think about Anthony Richardson, I think about a guy that is very inaccurate. And Tyler Warren is not the kind of guy who's just going to like create 5 yards of separation from a defender. I get it. He's a bigger target. That's nice. But inaccurate guys tend to have more success when the windows that they're throwing into are larger. And I think some of the thought process on Tyler Warren is, well, he's bigger. Therefore, the window is bigger. That's not true. If I'm huge, that's great. But if there's someone like on my hip and you got to throw the ball out in front of me, that is not a big window. Now, when Tyler Warren's wide open, the window's larger than, when Josh Downs is wide open. But ultimately, Anthony Richardson needs guys who can separate and create a little bit of distance from whoever is defending them. And I don't know if Tyler Warren's really that guy. Maybe he will be at some point, but right now he just seems like, you know what? I'm bigger and stronger than all these linebackers. I'm bigger and stronger than all these safeties. I'm faster than all of these linebackers. And like, that's cool. But if they put a safety on him and the safety's on his hip, we really going to trust Anthony Richardson to make that throw? So I wasn't trying to insinuate that Tyler Warren's going to be some stud this year. I just think that is the expectation for him. And I hope that he lives up to that. I'm not convinced that he will because the quarterback situation here in Indianapolis, until it's fixed, it's really hard to know how good any of these guys are. Like, I think one of the most impressive things that we've seen from Michael Pittman Jr. is he's put up pretty consistent numbers with a different quarterback every year, and like none of them have been great. His numbers are better than Deebo Samuel's. When you look at the receiving stuff, obviously Deebo Samuel has more rushing yards, but good for you, Deebo. Have fun in Washington. He probably will. I don't know why I said it like that. He's going to have a blast in that offense running routes for Jaden Daniels. So I get it. We're all very excited about Tyler Warren. He's going to dominate rookie camp starting tomorrow. People are going to be, over the moon about him. That's great. It's not going to mean anything. And I'm with Joe C. We got to taper our expectations until we know that the Indianapolis Colts have a consistently accurate starting quarterback. Coming up at 11, Nick Pedone of the big Nick Pedone from the Big Play Sports Network is going to join the show. They're based out of Cleveland. He does a lot of stuff on the Cavaliers. He's going to join the show at 11, and we're going to continue to talk about this excellent series that we've had so far. And a large part of why the series has been so excellent is because of our guy, Tyrese Haliburton. Something happened to him a couple weeks ago. It's been a very major storyline. And it's the absolute best thing that could have happened to him. Tyrese Haliburton being voted the most overrated player in the NBA is the best thing for him. It's going to do wonders for him. And I'll tell you why when we come back here in about 4 minutes.
If it's in today's sports world, it's here. The real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thanks for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket, if you want to head over there and subscribe, maybe watch it on Twitter, __ Jonathan Smith. And if you can also listen via the Indy Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you find your apps. Now, Pacers, they're rolling right now. It's great. It's fun. I'm having a blast watching this Pacers team. They've been fun all year. For those of you who are just now hopping on the train because the playoffs started, I feel bad for you because you've missed out on great moments this year. And Tyrese Haliburton was recently voted the most overrated player in the NBA by his peers. And that is going to be the best thing for his career. Simple as that. There's this feature on social media where if someone posts like a vulgar photo or video or any sort of like adult content, like there's like a bunch of blood or a violent act, whatever, on any social media app, the app will blur it out and it shows this question. And it says, this video or photo contains mature content. Are you sure you want to watch this? And when people see that, when I see that, when you see it, it just makes you want to watch it all the more. It's like how bad is this? You know, like, are we talking like are people's like hands getting chopped off? What are we talking here? Or is it just like some fight where someone gets hit in the face with a shovel and there's a little bit of blood? I don't know. I got to find out. Watch it anyway. And I think that most overrated player in the NBA tag has had a similar effect on Tyrese Haliburton in the playoffs. Because let's just be very honest here. People are not locked into 82 games of Indiana Pacer basketball. They're not watching Tyrese Haliburton every time he walks out on the floor. They played on less than 10 games. The Pacers played less than 10 games on ESPN or TNT this year during the regular season. So people haven't been exposed to Tyrese Haliburton outside of that playoff run last year where they played a bunch of hurt teams and he was discredited because the teams that they played against were hurt, and then they get swept by Boston. To be fair, Tyrese Haliburton only played in 2 of those games. And then this year, he gets voted as the most overrated player in the NBA. And so now, I think that has led to people, when watching the Pacers, to pay extra close attention to Tyrese Haliburton. Every good thing that he does becomes amplified because people saw him last year. And if you just watch that dude play for 5 minutes, then that dude is a very good basketball player. And so when the vote comes out, people are confused by it. And it's like, really? Like, why is this guy, why is he being voted this? Like, I saw him play last year. I thought he was good. And so now there's extra attention on him. Now, even if he hadn't been voted the most overrated player in the NBA, people would still be taking notice. But it just means a little bit more. I think there's a few extra eyeballs on him because he has been given this label. It is added just extra attention to everything that he does. And this is going to be the best thing for his career. He came into the season as a player that everyone knew of, made the run to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, was a part of the Olympic team, been an all-star twice, was an all-star starter last year. Right? So people knew who he was coming into this season. And if the Pacers are able to get back to the Eastern Conference Finals, they're obviously in great position to do that. Nick Pedone coming up here in about 30 minutes to talk Pacers versus Cavaliers. After what he's done in these first 2 rounds, he's going to go from very well-known player, potential all-star every year kind of guy, to a legitimate superstar, not just in Indianapolis, but I think across the country and across the NBA community. Because, what the Pacers are doing, no one expected. Pacers are up 2-0 over the first-seeded Cleveland Cavaliers, a team with the best offense in the NBA. Tyrese Haliburton has now delivered twice in big games. He hit the series ender, Game 5 against the Bucks to cap off that 8-0 35-second run. Damian Lillard's series clinching shot like a decade ago, I think it happened in 2014, over Paul George against the Oklahoma City Thunder, that gave Damian Lillard clout for like a decade. Like he hit that shot. And, everyone's like, Damian Lillard, clutch gene, blah, 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 blah. Dude's only been to one Western Conference Finals, but hey, like, did you see that shot that he hit over Paul George? Oh, man. And so not only did Tyrese Haliburton hit that game winner in Game 5 against the Bucks, against Giannis, where he just cooked him off the bounce, he also hit one 2 nights ago against Cleveland to cap off another crazy comeback. And it has been just really fun, honestly, to watch these national people who didn't pay any sort of attention to the Pacers all year, didn't pay any sort of attention to Tyrese Haliburton all year until he got that label of the most overrated player in the NBA. And now people are like, oh, wow, like they think this dude's overrated? That's crazy. Why would they think that? How did we get to this point of NBA players voting Tyrese Haliburton as the most overrated player in the NBA? Because he burst onto the scene last year at the start of the season. He was an all-star starter for the first time. He was like second, I think, in votes for guards in the Eastern Conference. He became the face of the Pacers during that run. He was obviously selected to the Olympic team last summer. He went on that run to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, and he had a couple big games against the Knicks. Game 7 in the Garden, he goes for 26. But a lot of it was discredited because of the teams that the Indiana Pacers played. The teams that they played were incredibly banged up. That's the reality of it. We don't mind it because a win is a win is a win. And so I think that is what led to him being voted the most overrated player in the NBA. He goes on this Eastern Conference Finals run, but, the Knicks were banged up. The Bucks were banged up. He then goes and plays for the Olympic team, and I'm sure that there's some players out there who were salty that he was selected over them, and then he didn't play, which probably just made those people even saltier. All of that, though, was the best thing for him. Because what other people, those people are wrong, would deem as a fluky run to the Eastern Conference Finals and an undeserving spot on the Olympic team, all of that is what I think bled into him being voted as the most overrated player in the NBA. And it's the best thing for him. I love the irony of all this because it has just added a whole nother layer to these game winners and great performances because he has been great so far through these NBA playoffs. And it's only going to get better. I don't know if you're familiar with this or not, but there's a new Netflix documentary that they're going to do every single season with the NBA called Starting Five. They did one last year. It was a lot of Anthony Edwards. They had LeBron James on it. And these Netflix cameras just follow him around. And, Tyrese Haliburton, he's going to be on it this year. These Netflix cameras, they just follow Haliburton around. And the parts where they talk about him this year, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be fantastic because you've got this most overrated player in the NBA tag. You've got these two game winners in the playoffs. You've got, the fact that he's up 2-0, a thing that no one really saw coming. And I love it. And part of why there's this boom around him is because of this label that he's been given as the most overrated player in the NBA. And I just find it hysterical that those 13 people, because that's how many people voted for him, 13. Those 13 people, their decision to write his name down, it is actively helping increase his popularity. And I just love the irony of it. I also love the NBA playoffs. The NBA playoffs have been nothing short of absolutely outstanding this year. Seriously, they've just been spectacular, except for Thunder and Nuggets last night. It's been everything that it's supposed to be. It is basketball being played at the absolute highest level in the world. Teams are defending. Superstars are hitting big shots. The games are highly competitive for the most part. It feels like the players care a ton. I just thought of this, so this isn't fully vetted, but let's roll with it anyway. I wonder if part of why the games feel so competitive and the games mean so much is because there's not like everyone knows that the team around Denver or the team around Jokic in Denver isn't built to win a title. And so it feels kind of like last year where it's like someone has an opportunity to get one. Because when LeBron was at his peak, if you were in his conference, you knew his team was coming out of your conference. When the Warriors dynasty was rolling, if you were in the West, you knew you weren't going to beat Golden State. Right now, there's not a team like that. As great as Jokic is, there's not a player like that. So, like, there's just it feels like this extra sense of urgency for these, guys that are a little lower on the totem pole of best player in the world. There's like this little extra urgency to go get one because it feels like there's a potential title to be won because for some reason NBA players don't respect the Oklahoma City Thunder, even though they're clearly the best team in the NBA. It's great. We've also had a lot of history so far in the first two rounds of these NBA playoffs. This was the first time in the history of the NBA that every home team lost game one of the second round of the NBA playoffs. And last night, we had even more history made. The NBA, before this season, had never seen a 60-win team face a 2-0 deficit in the second round since the NBA expanded to a 16-team playoff format, which was introduced in the 1983-84 season. And now we have two, Cleveland and Boston. No one gave the Pacers a chance. I heard a lot of people picking the Cavaliers in 5 or 6 games. I'm not going to sit here and act like I picked the Pacers. I didn't. I took the Cavaliers in 7. No one gave the Knicks any sort of a chance. I was one of them. I picked Boston in 5. And I still kind of think that the Celtics are going to win that series. I've got a ton of respect for that team. They're going to go down swinging. Everyone on that team has won a title. We're in the middle of one of the best NBA playoffs ever, and the Pacers are leading the charge. In a year where it felt like we knew who the 3 best teams were, the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Boston Celtics, and the Cleveland Cavaliers, we find 2 of them down 0-2. The other one, the Thunder, have already given up home court. And all this has happened before the conference finals have even started. And try not to get too excited. Because I think that the Pacers are better than the Knicks. I like their depth more than the Knicks. Their play styles are entirely different from one another. We saw the Pacers beat this Knicks team last year, but obviously the Knicks have a different roster this year, bringing in Karl Anthony Towns and Mikal Bridges. But the Pacers are better this year than they were last year as well. Tyrese Haliburton has gotten better. Miles Turner's having a really good year. Andrew Nembhard is, outside of game 2 against Cleveland, he's had a really good run so far in these playoffs. Benedict Mathurin is actually available. So the Pacers are better than they were last year as well. I think the Pacers are better than New York. If the Pacers played the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals, I would pick the Pacers in 6. I didn't think I would say this year. I thought there was a chance maybe next year. But there's a pretty decent chance that the Indiana Pacers are going to play in the NBA Finals. They'll probably play the Oklahoma City Thunder. That's the best team in the NBA. And I hope it's Thunder and Pacers. I think that'd be awesome. That would be spectacular. Most overrated player in the NBA leads his team to the NBA Finals. What a headline. That'd be great. Also, the television networks would love it. No New York, no Los Angeles, no LeBron James, no Steph Curry. No. We got Pacers and Thunder. Tyrese Haliburton from Wisconsin. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander from our neighbor to the north, Canada. Oklahoma City and Indianapolis, the sites of the NBA Finals. Oh, that'd be awesome. That'd be incredible. So how great, I mean, seriously though, like that would be an incredible NBA Finals. Because those, like the Thunder and the Pacers are very different. The Pacers are a fast-paced, up and down the floor, we're going to score it, we're going to run it at you all night kind of team. And the Oklahoma City Thunder, they are the best defensive team in the NBA. They have been all year. It would actually be a really tough series for Tyrese Haliburton because you got Lou Dort and Caruso and Cason Wallace and who else is coming off that bench? Aaron Wiggins and Isaiah Joe. Like, they've just got a ton of great defenders. So that actually be a very interesting series. Obviously, the Pacers would throw Nemhard and Aaron Nesmith at Jalen Williams and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Either way, I think that would actually be a very fascinating NBA Finals. I'm sure that all of the television networks would agree with me. So, yeah, that's on the table. That is in the cards for this Pacer team, but they need to take care of business tomorrow night, go up 3-0. Let's just sweep them. Let's just sweep the Cavaliers and call it a night. That would be amazing. Coming up here in about 25 minutes, Nick Pedone from the Big Play Sports Network is going to join the show, and we're going to talk a little bit of Pacers and Cavaliers. I'm going to continue to talk about it, too, when we come back here in about 4 minutes. Pascal Siakam is just, poof, he's just gone. No idea where he went. He's got to get going at some point for the Pacers to potentially reach the NBA Finals. That's a real conversation. It's a real one, and I'm very excited about it. My thoughts on Pascal Siakam and his struggles when we come back here in about 4 minutes.
Hey there, Hoosiers. Are you ready to give your child a head start on their future? Indiana 529 savings plans are a simple way to save for their education. Plus, there are some great tax benefits. The best part? It's not just for college. Indiana 529 can be used for tech schools, trade programs, apprenticeships, and more. Start with just $10 a month at myindiana529.com to help them reach their dreams. Read the disclosure booklet carefully before investing. Sponsored by Indiana 529.
It may, one day, be a must-listen for sports enthusiasts.
Yeah, and monkeys might fly out of my butt.
Uh-oh. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. 20 minutes out from Nick Pedone joining the show again to talk a little bit of Pacers and Cavaliers. Hope you're doing well. Hope your day is off to a fantastic start. Hopefully it's like Pacers up 2-0 against the Cavaliers still in both road games. Kind of good starts. You know what I mean? Tough to be doing much better than that. Of course, that series game 3 tomorrow night back here in Indianapolis. It's got to be loud and raucous in Gainbridge Fieldhouse. That environment is going to be elite coming up tomorrow night. I can't wait. And I haven't done this segment in a while. It's not mine, but John Buzzard, who is, by the way, an elite tweeter. The tweets coming out from John Buzzard are always elite. And I used to do, and we'll do sometimes, a little bit of Conspiracy Corner, where we'll talk about conspiracy theories. And John Buzzard threw one at me. John Buzzard threw a conspiracy theory at me saying, not sure which day you do your conspiracy segment right now, John, but mine is today. The Athletic is struggling so much that they made that whole poll that they made that whole poll up just to get clicks. Hey man, it's a great way to do it. They do that thing. They do that poll every year. And I think part of why we've gotten such outrage on the most overrated player thing is because people who have seen Tyrese Haliburton play basketball know without a shadow of a doubt that guy is anything but overrated. Okay? I mean, come on now. Like, he's awesome. And as we've seen throughout these first two playoffs here. So I don't know if it's, I think because they do this every year, it wouldn't classify as a conspiracy theory. That would be my stance on it. Anyway, I'll also be accepting conspiracy theories on why Pascal Siakam in the last 4 playoff games hasn't been the Pascal Siakam that we've come to know. Tyrese Haliburton has been the best player for this Pacers team throughout the playoffs. Pascal Siakam hasn't really been as consistent as he was during the regular season. Like you could pencil that guy in for 20 points and 8 rebounds a night during the regular season. I've said this multiple times. I thought that his NBA regular season was deserving of a third-team all-NBA spot this year, even though it'll probably be Tyrese Haliburton. Okay? Now, Pascal Siakam has not helped me with that statement so far in these playoffs. He got off to a really good start. You know, he's averaging 18 points and 6 rebounds per game so far throughout these playoffs, and I just think that makes it sound better than what he's actually been. Like I said, the start he got off to was great against Milwaukee. 25 points and 7 rebounds in game 1. 24 points and 11 rebounds in game 2. He had 28 points in that game 3 loss to Milwaukee. And he's doing all of this while having to defend Giannis for stretches on defense. Okay, the Pacers' last 4 games, he hasn't been good. No way around it. Only 12 points and 3 rebounds. In game 4 against the Bucks, he only scored 10 points and pulled in 4 rebounds in game 5 against the Bucks. In game 1 against Cleveland, he had 17 points and 8 rebounds, but he wasn't very efficient, only shot 40% from the field on a night where he got several good looks. Then in game 2 the other night, Pacers won, which is ultimately what matters, but you barely realized that he was on the floor. The guy only took 8 shots. Made 5 of them, which is great. Very efficient. But he's got to take more than 8 shots, especially when he's being defended by Dean Wade. And the Dean Wade conversation coming from Pacer fans who have not watched Cleveland play this year is so funny because Dean Wade's this white dude with a faux hawk. And you look at him, it's like, yeah, this guy can't guard. No way. Dean Wade, very good defender. And it's so funny. I'd get on Twitter during the game, and I'd just be like, why isn't Pascal Siakam cooking Dean Wade? And the answer is because Dean Wade's a really good defender. Okay? With that being said, Dean Wade is not a good enough defender to hold Pascal Siakam to 12 points. Pascal Siakam should be able to get to 18. He should be able to get to 18 against Dean Wade. Okay? Like 12 points and 6 rebounds just isn't what you expect from this guy in Pascal Siakam, who is the Pacers' most consistent player during the regular season. Okay? Now, there's a good side to this. There's a good side to the Pascal Siakam struggles that we've seen over the last 4 games, but there's also a bad side. The bad side is pretty obvious. The Pacers' second best player isn't playing well right now. And they're going to need him to pick it up at some point if they want to beat Cleveland, if they want to put away this team. And I get it, everyone's all happy-go-lucky right now. Woo, Pacers up 2-0. But Evan Mobley's going to come back at some point. And DeAndre Hunter might come back at some point. And Darius Garland's doing everything he can to come back. And when the Cavaliers are at full strength and their offense is fully clicking and they actually start making threes, the Pacers need a consistent second option to go get buckets to match the scoring of the Cavaliers. And Siakam isn't that right now. And he's going to have to be that if they want to put the Cavaliers away. And if they want to beat the Knicks and get to the NBA Finals. Come on. The good side, though, is Pascal Siakam hasn't been playing his best basketball, and the Pacers are 7-1 in the playoffs. Or 6-1, right? Yeah. 4 or 5. Yeah, 6-1, excuse me, in the playoffs. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I like the Pacers tomorrow night, just saying. Anyway. And the fact that Pascal Siakam can struggle and not play his best basketball, and the Pacers can still find ways to win, it speaks to the depth and the overall talent of this team. It speaks to the ceiling of this team as well. When you look at how efficient and how good this offense has been without their second best player being consistent. Like, they've scored 119 points or more in their last 4 games without Pascal Siakam being great. That is a testament to how well this Indiana Pacers team is playing right now. It's a testament to Andrew Nembhard and the way that he's really kind of brought up his game. I know I've been tough on him after the 8 turnovers in game 2. In his defense, 13 assists. Not bad. Miles Turner has been excellent so far through these playoffs. Aaron Nesmith has had multiple games where he's been the Pacers' leading scorer. And if the Pacers can find a way for Siakam to find his rhythm, if the Pacers can get Siakam rolling again, then there is potential that we see the Pacers go to another level. Because the one thing that they've been missing in this series so far against Cleveland is an isolation scoring option. And that, to me, like, look, Pascal Siakam is a great player. He helps the Pacers in multiple areas. But where I think he's the most important is he is a legitimate isolation scoring option. And when he is that, and they can give him the ball at the elbow, and the game slows down, because I think Cleveland is going to try to slow the series down a little bit. When the game slows down, being able to just give him the ball at the elbow is huge, because the Pacers are not a great isolation team. Tyrese Haliburton, I think, is a great isolation player, but that's not how he wants to play. Pascal Siakam is. There are very few other guys that are better options isolated at the elbow than Pascal Siakam. When he's there, you're probably going to get a good shot. And that's the name of the game offensively, right? You just want to create good shots. Okay? We haven't seen that at all in the first 2 games of this series. We haven't seen Pascal Siakam isolated at the elbow. It hasn't mattered, right? Because they've scored 120 points or more. But that is still something that the Pacers can go to later in the series if they need to. And they haven't really had to use it quite yet. And maybe that's part of why Pascal Siakam's not scoring a ton of points. Maybe it's because the Pacers are looking at this like, you know what? We don't really need to isolate him at the elbow. If we just keep the ball moving, we're going to generate a ton of great looks from 3, like they've done in 7 of the 8 quarters that they've played against the Cavaliers. So Pascal Siakam, he's got to pick it up a bit here at some point, but it is a good sign that the Pacers are being able to find ways to win without him being super impactful on the offensive end of the floor. And once again, that speaks to Miles Turner, because that dude, I am a Miles Turner defender. I know that there are Pacer fans who don't appreciate everything that guy does for this Pacers team, because, I get it. He's 7 feet tall and he's not a great rebounder, which, I just can't believe how people take that one thing and just ignore the fact that he's averaging 17 points and 6 rebounds a game, along with 3 blocks a game so far in these playoffs. He has been so good, and he's really been the main guy for the Pacers who has stepped up during these, not struggles, because that's not the right word, but during these, Pascal Siakam games where he hasn't been himself. He had 23 points in game 2, 23 points, 8 rebounds, 5 blocks. Pascal Siakam doesn't have to be great when you get that kind of production from him. Game 1, 13 points, 11 boards, 5 of 9 shooting. You don't need Pascal, you don't need Pascal Siakam to be great when he does that. 21 points and 9 rebounds in that closeout game against Milwaukee. Siakam doesn't have to go get 20 when Miles Turner does that. 23 points and 4 blocks in game 4 against Milwaukee. Siakam didn't have to be great if Miles Turner is going to do that. And so just the, not emergence, but just the increased level of play from Miles Turner has been so much fun to watch. Aaron Nesmith as well. This dude, man, awesome. 23 points and just really kind of led that charge for the Pacers' comeback win in game 2 against Cleveland. Game 1, the dude's just shooting the crap out of the ball right now. He's shooting 51% from 3 so far in the playoffs. Okay, it's excuse me, 56% from 3 so far in these playoffs. That's what Aaron Nesmith's doing right now. That's not sustainable. I hope it is. I hope he continues to shoot the ball that well from 3. The dude's just locked in right now, and it's been a blast to watch. But when he eventually cools off and he goes back to shooting around 40% from 3, because that's what he shot during the regular season, that's when you're going to have to see Siakam go get 20 and 8, like he is more than capable of. Okay, so I am very excited. I can't wait to see what this Pacer team looks like when Siakam kind of gets rolling again, because he is obviously a very important piece of this team. He is an excellent isolation player, and you're going to need that at some point, because this Cavaliers team, they can guard. Did you watch the first quarter of the most recent game? So I'm just very excited to kind of see what this team looks like when he gets rolling. And I've been, proud's not the right word. Proud, yeah, because I've watched this team all year. I've watched, the last 2 years, I've probably caught 150 of the 164 regular season games that they've played in. And it's just been really cool to see the Pacers figure out how to get buckets when Siakam hasn't been the guy that you kind of expect for him to be. So the Pacers have another level. It's very exciting. What's also very exciting, Nick Pedone, who was great last week when he came on to help me preview that Cavaliers and Pacers series. He's going to come on again here in about 5 minutes.
do this. It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indie Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indie Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indie Sports Ticket. Thanks for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indie Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe. Maybe watch it on Twitter, __ Jonathan Smith, if you want to follow me there. Also, make sure you follow Nick Pedone 12. He is our guest right now to talk Pacers and Cavaliers. Nick, what's going on, man? How are you?
What's up? I appreciate you having me back on the show.
You were great last time, so I was like, things that no one really expected to happen happened. So this is the guy that I have to bring back. What's morale like for just kind of the fan base in Cleveland?
Oh, I mean, it's low. It's about as low as you're gonna find. I mean, nobody had this series starting this way. Really, nobody foresaw how serious the injuries were going to be for Darius Garland, who has obviously been unable to go with that toe injury. To me, that's the biggest thing that's gone wrong for the Cavs. But then also, too, you lose Evan Mobley to the leg injury. You lose DeAndre Hunter to the dislocated thumb on his shooting hand. And that's how the Cavs find themselves down, 2-0 in 2 games that were close, down the stretch in the fourth quarter. Undermanned, the Cavs still found a way to hang, but the Pacers at full strength, the Cavs not, just proved to be a better basketball team despite playing at Rocket Arena on the road.
Were you surprised that Donovan Mitchell only played 36 minutes with no Garland, Mobley, or Hunter available?
Not really, just because Kenny Atkinson has been so smart with how he's managed minutes for everybody this season. Honestly, I think it goes to say, less about the availability of Hunter, Garland, Mobley for Game 3 when this thing flips to Indiana. They know that they're going to need another Donovan Mitchell masterclass, and that's what made the Game 2 loss so disappointing. Is you wasted a 48-point performance from Donovan Mitchell when he looked like the best player on the court really all night, and his 3-ball wasn't falling the way that he wanted it to, but it was Donovan Mitchell, not Tyrese Haliburton, who looked like the best player on the floor. Obviously, Haliburton hit the biggest shot in the series to date, and that's why the Pacers are up 2-0. But I wasn't surprised with how Kenny managed the minutes for Donovan. Donovan was completely gassed. I'm told he left the arena after Game 2 with IV treatment bags, just because he was so physically beat up. He's now dealing with a strained calf as well. So his, availability, we'll find out in just a little bit when the Cavs get ready to go to practice Cleveland Clinic courts in just about an hour. We'll get a little bit of an injury update on all of these guys, but now Donovan Mitchell finds himself on there with the calf strain as the Cavs are just beat, to this point in the postseason.
Joined by Nick Pedone from the Big Play Sports Network. You can find him on shows like Big Play Cleveland and The Big Factor. What'd you make of Coach Atkinson's comments after the game about the grabbing and the holding from the Pacers and the Cavaliers being tired in that fourth quarter?
Yeah, look, I think when you're a head coach and you're, just searching for answers, you can kind of look to blame anything. Cavs fans are plenty familiar with it because J.B. Bickerstaff, over the last 2 seasons that the Cavs were in the playoffs, the first season with Donovan Mitchell in Cleveland where the Cavs unceremoniously were bounced from the first round from the New York Knicks. And then last year against the Boston Celtics, JB spent most of those series just barking at the refs and barking at officials. So it's not really a big surprise for Cleveland fans to hear, Kenny Atkinson kind of falling in line with that. Because I think when, you're a head coach and you've seen you lose 2 pivotal guys this postseason, in this series, you lost Mobley and Hunter out of Game 1 just because of the Pacers' physicality, and you lost Garland in the last round due to a toe injury against the Heat. And now Donovan's dealing with a calf strain. I think you're going to be mad, just in general, as a head coach that lost 4. You can say right there, you're without 4 starters, at least on full strength, because I would expect Donovan to play tomorrow night in Indianapolis. But yeah, this really has gone off the tracks for the Cavs in a way that I don't think they saw coming, because like I said in the last answer, like Atkinson has managed these guys' minutes so well. Like the Cavs were a load management team all season long. And then you just got unlucky with injuries. And I don't think that the Pacers have been overly dirty. There's been, physical moments in the series like there has been in any series, and the Cavs just haven't been able to match that physicality. And it's unfortunately resulted in some injuries that obviously Atkinson's upset about.
Thank you for saying that, because I Twitter isn't everyone, and people just say outlandish things on there all the time. But like some of the stuff that Cleveland fans have said, it's just like, I don't know. I feel like the NBA playoffs are just naturally physical. I think we've seen it in every series. Like, I don't know if you saw what the Thunder did to Jokic last night, but geez, like they beat that dude up pretty good. And yeah, like I think the one thing that bothered me, and I get it, like he's a head coach, but the complaining about the grabbing and the holding in the fourth quarter. My question was just like, I don't know, did you watch how the Cavaliers play defense in the first quarter?
Yeah, I would say this too. Like the Pacers have just been more physical, really, from tip off until the clock hits triple zeros. Put in Tristan Thompson, if you're Kenny Atkinson, who's without a big, and let him get in there. And I hate to say it, because obviously you don't want to see anything get dirty. But if you're Kenny Atkinson and you believe that things are getting dirty with the grabbing and the holding and the physicality, well, you have a guy who's an NBA champion and played a key role on the 2016 NBA championship Cleveland Cavaliers. Tristan Thompson, at that point of his career, that was his prime. He was a walking double-double. But let's not forget, like, he out-physicaled Draymond Green after Draymond got suspended. That's ultimately how the Cavs won their first championship in NBA history. So, like, Kenny, if you want to be upset about it, I get that, and I think that's perfectly fine, because you have lost key guys in this series because of the physicality, so it's within his right to be upset about it. But you do have a guy who could combat it and who could go in there and be a little bit of an enforcer and send a bit of a message, especially now down 0-2. It would be a weird card, to pull, and I think it would definitely catch fans by surprise. Like, why is Tristan Thompson in the game? But he is a physical dude that could, keep up with the elbows and some of the quote-unquote cheap shots, if that's what we want to really call them here.
Joined by Nick Pedone, who does sports media in Cleveland, talking Pacers and Cavaliers. I think you're right, and I'm curious your thoughts on this. I think that when people look at the Pacers, they see this team that is like up and down and plays really fast, and teams like that usually aren't super physical. Meanwhile, the Pacers are a physical team. They're a very big and long team. Do you think that the physicality of the Pacers could have just taken the Cavaliers a bit by surprise?
Maybe, because it is one thing with these Cavs that has kind of ailed them in the playoffs. They were out physicaled by the Orlando Magic in round one last year, and they were, able to just dominate. In game 7, so that didn't really matter as much because the Cavs ultimately escaped that series with a win despite being the less physical team. But really, I think the Cavs have done a good job under Atkinson of shaking that, soft label that people kind of put on them after the last 2 postseasons. But maybe I think it's within the realm of possibilities that they were a little bit surprised by the physicality of Indiana, especially because they knew going in that they were going to have to score a lot of points. Kenny Atkinson told the media before this thing even started to put your track shoes on and expect a track meet because you're going to have to score a lot to keep up with Indy. And we've seen that. But yeah, maybe they just weren't expecting how physical the Pacers could get.
How'd you, at what point during game 2 did you become concerned that the Cavaliers might lose?
Really, not till the end. I mean, they were up 20. I was surprised, going in. I really had thought that Indiana, despite being, a 5.5 point underdog, I think was what it closed at when the word was official that there wouldn't be any Garland, Mobley, as well as DeAndre Hunter. I was like, man, Indiana could probably be favored in this thing, especially after what we had seen in game 1 where Mobley and Hunter both played. But then when the Cavs come out, jump out to a 20-point lead and everything seemingly going right, despite Donovan Mitchell's 3 ball, not falling. It was like, okay, this thing could be evened up going back in to Indiana. And obviously Max Strus hits the big three down the stretch. That seemed to be the nail in the coffin. Cavs up 7. And then the collapse there where they're unable to inbound the ball cleanly. Haliburton, comes in, gets that offensive rebound off a free throw, which is unacceptable. Anybody who has played basketball at any organized basketball, I should say, at literally any level, that's one of the first things that a coach will freak out on you on is an offensive rebound on a free throw. You're literally in an advantageous position as the defending team, being the closer team on the block, especially when it wasn't exactly a long rebound. I get that it was tapped back to Haliburton and he was able to hit that three. I really thought that the Cavs were in it and could close it in that point. It was really a flashback of what went wrong for the Milwaukee Bucks when they blew that lead against Indiana.
Everything just had to go perfect. And we had Tim Legler on yesterday for the show after mine, which I help co-host. And he said something that seems so simple, but you just don't really seem to like think about. He talks about how he felt like the Cavaliers got like too far underneath the basket when on both of those boards. And like like you said, grabbing not one, but 2 offensive rebounds off of a missed free throw was just like that never happens. So do you still believe that the Cavaliers can come back from down 2-0? Because I do. Like, this team is really good. Like, everyone here in Indianapolis is very excited, and I feel like I'm the only guy being like, can we just like remember that the Cavaliers won 64 games this year?
Yeah, I think they can, because I think they have Donovan Mitchell, and that's what they're going to need. They're going to need what Donovan gave them in game 2 to find a way to replicate some iteration of that. And I don't know if it's scoring 50 again himself, if it's getting other guys involved, but I do think the Cavs could come back in this series because they have Donovan. And that's going to be the most important thing for them to try to mount a comeback from down 0-2. They are a good team. You're right. And the fact that they were able to get so much productivity from guys throughout the season that weren't Garland, Mobley, Hunter, like you saw there was a way. I think if you're the Cavs and you're in that locker room and you're at that practice today, you have to find within yourself, what was it that put the Indiana Pacers in a 20-point hole? And you need to foster that. Whatever that was is what you need to come out with in game 3 and try to do that again. And obviously you can't let up this time. You can't let them back into that game. And I don't really know that the Cavs did let up. I think it was just that the Indiana Pacers ratcheted it up a level and were able to steal that game on the road despite being down 20. But if you're the Cavs, I think you have to just stay the course, stay optimistic, because despite all of these things that have gone wrong, in an improbable collapse, with less than a minute to go, really, being down 3 guys, you've been in each and every one of these games. So it's not over until the first team wins 4 games. That's why they play these things best of 7.
That's right. Joined by Nick Pedone from the Big Play Sports Network. You can find him on shows like Big Play Cleveland and The Big Factor, talking Pacers and Cavs. I think you're right. Like, Donovan Mitchell terrifies me. He's been great in games 1 and 2, and it's not even just the 48 points in game 2. He had 9 assists as well, and the Pacers clearly don't have any sort of answer for that guy. And when you have the best player in the series, you always have a chance. The other thing that I'm just kind of waiting on is, the Cavaliers were the best 3-point shooting team in the NBA this season. They haven't really made threes. Why do you think that is?
I think the Indiana Pacers have done a great job, defending the Cavs and making the Cavs shoot contested threes and tough threes. Obviously, too, the biggest thing is that they haven't had their all-star point guard. And there was this weird thing, Jonathan, in Cleveland that we had going on here, where when the Cavs were able to sweep the Miami Heat those last 2 games without Darius Garland, Ty Jerome had done a really good job throughout the regular season, turning himself into a fan favorite. We've had him on my show up here in Cleveland. Like, everybody loved Ty Jerome. He had a great regular season, and he was a big reason why the Cavs were able to win all of those regular season games and finish as the number 1 team in the East, right? Well, without Darius Garland, the Ty Jerome truthers and the Darius Garland haters, which there is a silent, group of individuals who will get loud every time the Cavs have success without Garland, came out and they were like, "Oh, well, the Cavs will be better against the Pacers if Garland doesn't play. Ty Jerome will play. He's bigger. He's a better defender." How's that worked out? Ty Jerome looks absolutely lost out there. Obviously, this is his first postseason, so now he's only played in 6 postseason games, where the Pacers are just way more experienced than the Cavs, and literally almost every guy on the roster, just outside of Donovan, in terms of playoff experience. Ty Jerome has been horrible. He has been completely exposed in this series. He's been horrible. He's been really bad. And the Cavs sorely miss Darius Garland. And I think that's the reason why they haven't been able to be as successful with their 3-point shooting, because you have a different point guard. You have a different playmaker, just plays the game a little bit of a different way than DG. Ty Jerome's usually looking to shoot threes himself. He's looking to create for himself and make those floaters, which he just hasn't done against the Pacers, whereas Darius Garland is a distribute first type of guy, and if the ball comes back to him around the horn, he'll shoot the three himself. So I do think the Darius Garland subtraction has been the thing that's hurt the Cavs by far the most in this series.
I agree with you. Quick question. Is Kyle Anderson the leader of that the Cavaliers are better without Garland kind of crew?
And I think Tyler Hero kind of put himself in that conversation too last series, because him and Darius had some back and forth.
Yeah.
And then that ultimately was when the kind of the last that we had seen of Darius, when him and Hero were going back and forth at each other, and Hero said, look, it's a lot of talking for the guy who's probably the worst defender on his own team, which I don't even believe to be true. I think DG has improved his defense a ton since he was drafted in the league in 2019. Certainly this year with Kenny Atkinson, he's proven that him and Donovan can kind of tag team, the defense a little bit as a smaller backcourt. So yeah, there totally is a lot of people. Well, I should say there was a lot of people here locally that thought the Cavs were a better team without Darius Garland. It was bizarre to me then. It's even more bizarre to me now, as Ty Jerome just ain't cutting it.
Yeah, he's not, and I'm glad you brought him up, because I love Ty Jerome. Like that dude's awesome. He reminds me a lot of TJ McConnell. That's kind of our bench guy here in Indy, and I think he's just got a similar. What's the word? Like, he has this, let's call it like swing ability, where like McConnell is at his best, like in game 5 against the Bucks. He came in at like the end of the third quarter and he scores like 8 points in like 5 minutes and really kind of swung the game in the Pacers' direction. I think Ty Jerome does a pretty similar thing for Cleveland, but when you're playing 36 minutes, like, you don't really get to do that. You more have to be consistent the entire game, as opposed to just being great for these like short 5 to 7 minute stints. And I think you're exactly right. Like they clearly miss Garland. What has to happen? Like, what's more important? The Cavaliers kind of finding their touch from 3, or Ty Jerome finally kind of not going 1 of 14 from the field like he did in game 2?
Yeah, I think it has to be a hybrid. Like, you can't be as bad as you've been from 3. I know that's kind of a cop-out answer, but at the same time, you can't have the guy that's your de facto starting point guard now, lay an egg like what he laid in game 2. Like, the 1 of 14 was horrible. You mentioned the comp to TJ McConnell, and it stinks. It's the unfortunate part of where the Cavs are at with this is TJ McConnell's 10th year in the league. Like, he had some success and I believe played some playoff basketball minutes during his time with the 76ers too. Like, for Ty Jerome, I know he's 27, he's got 6 years in the league himself, but this is completely new to him, and playing this big of a role and looked upon to be a guy that needs to go out there and perform. Like, I think it's just a lot for him in a short amount of time. And I don't know, I'd love to be wrong. I don't know that Ty Jerome could go to Indiana, though, and light it up for 20 points and be the guy that he was in the regular season and in the playoffs. Like, I think the moment just might be a smidge big. So it's going to have to be a collective effort. It's going to have to be Donovan. It's going to have to be Ty, pulling things up a little bit more. And you're going to need contribution from what we talked about, before the series started, the Dean Wades, the Isaac Okoro's. Like, those guys have given the Cavs nothing. They're getting consistent minutes because they're good defenders, but you can't just be a black hole on the other end.
Is there a part of you that's like, the Cavaliers are giving up 120 points or more in the first two games? Should they just abandon it and just go all offense?
I would, but I think what's tough about that is the fact that you're arguably three of your best offensive players this season, Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, and DeAndre Hunter, are massive question marks. So prior to game one, that would have been my philosophy going in. I would have said, let's play small ball. It's a one big type of series. I would have opted for Mobley over Allen because he could shoot the three. And let's go. Let's play small ball with the Pacers and try to outrun them, try to outscore them. Defense doesn't matter. You don't really need a whole lot of Okoro because he's not going to give you anything offensively. I was, after game one, getting ready to go on the show, and I was going to lay out a hot take that this could be a series where you could play Amani Bates. Come to find, Amani Bates isn't even on the postseason roster. But the Cavs do need scoring. So maybe in game three, if you're without all three of your guys again, you try to match that offense. I think that's why we saw Craig Porter Jr., which was a surprise to a lot of people. Yeah. That's a two-way guy that found his way into the playoff rotation because of all of these injuries. Maybe you see the first-round rookie, Jalen Tyson, who's really good when he was called upon during the regular season. Again, these are guys that we're talking about that have literally no postseason experience at all, but you're looking at ways to claw out of a 0-2 hole against a team like Indiana that can seemingly score at will. Oh, yeah, now when it's at their house, it's definitely going to be an uphill battle. And I think when you look at uphill battles in the NBA postseason, you got to try things that are a little weird and a little unorthodox.
Joined by Nick Pedone from the Big Play Sports Network. You can find him on shows like Big Play Cleveland and the Big Factor, talking Pacers and Cavaliers. I appreciate – I have this pet peeve, Nick, where people will be like, I have a hot take, and then they say something that is just not a hot take at all. And I appreciate that you said I have a hot take, and then you said the Cavaliers should play Amani Bates, because that is a hot take. I did not expect for you to say that. That's awesome. Last thing for you, Nick, and I'll let you go. Non-Pacers, Cavs related, because I think you've done a great job of just kind of breaking everything down from that Cavs standpoint. I think one question that everyone has across the country is, who are the Browns going to start at quarterback week one?
Yeah, we are in. We're in full. Once this ends, there are a lot of people like myself in the Cleveland media that really cover all three. So the minute that your NBA season ends, you immediately flip to NFL, and then your NFL training camp closely will coincide with the Cleveland Guardians throughout the summer, and they're always a good team. So probably another Guardians playoff appearance at some point this fall. Like the sports cycle here in Cleveland never ends, but that is the one thing that people will talk about 365 days out of the year is who's going to start at quarterback week one for the Browns. I still really think that it's Joe Flacco. I think they probably have to give the football to the established vet that's won playoff games before. I'll tell you this, though, regardless of who starts week one, I don't think they'll finish out the season as the starter because the Browns are going to want to get looks at Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel this offseason and throughout the regular season, too, because now you have 2 first-round picks next year because of the trade on draft night, round 1 with the Jacksonville Jags. You got Jacksonville's first-round pick, which could be a pretty good pick. The Browns' pick could be pretty good as well. You'd have enough ammo to move up in the draft next year if Arch Manning comes out and he's really the truth, or if it's Drew Aller, the local kid from Medina, Ohio, has a good year at Penn State and warrants himself as a top 5 pick in the 2026 NFL draft. So the Browns have a ton of avenues that they could go to find their quarterback of the future. I think the clearest path at it, though, is getting Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel on the field during the regular season at some point this season so they could try their best to evaluate what these guys have. It's funny that they have 2 quarterbacks that are rookies on their roster right now, because since 1999, they have been able to draft and develop 1 rookie quarterback. It'll be fascinating to see how they do it with 2 of them.
Nick Pedone, follow him on Twitter at Nick Pedone12. Make sure you check out his shows as well with the Big Play Sports Network. Nick, thanks for your time, man. You were awesome, as always.
For sure. Thanks for having me.
See ya. That is, once again, Nick Pedone, Nick Pedone12 on Twitter. Does a great job covering the Cavaliers, Guardians, and Browns. So if you're interested in any of that, go check out all of his stuff. When we come back here in about 4 minutes, Tyrese Haliburton being voted the most overrated player in the NBA has been the best thing for him. And I'm going to tell you why when we come back here in about 4 minutes.
The best takes. Maybe. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
What's going on? Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. Thanks for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy's Sports Ticket. If you head over there and subscribe, maybe watching on Twitter, __ Jonathan Smith, if you want to follow me there. You can also listen via that Indy Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you find your apps. And as always, if you want more from me, you can go check out the My Take Is YouTube page. Tyrese Haliburton being voted the most overrated player in the association it's the best thing for him. It is. Without a doubt. It's doing big things for him and his career. And I was thinking about this last night. That's actually not true. I was not thinking about this last night, but I was on Instagram scrolling, just trying to catch up on life. And there's this feature on social media now where someone posts like a video or a photo that's got like something vulgar in it, where there's like a bunch of blood or like a violent act or whatever it is. The app will blur it out and it'll say something along the lines of, this video or photo contains mature content. Are you sure that you want to watch? And that message makes you and I both want to watch even more than we already did. It's like, what happened? Like, did this guy's hand get chopped off? Did someone get hit in the head with a shovel? Like, what? Let's go. View anyway. Let's sign me up. And I think that the most overrated player in the NBA tag has had a similar impact on Tyrese Haliburton in the playoffs. Because let's be honest, people aren't locked into 82 games of Indiana Pacer basketball. They played less than 10 games on ESPN or TNT this year. Like, people just hadn't really been exposed to him outside of that playoff run last year where they played a bunch of hurt teams. And then this year it comes out that he's voted the most overrated player in the NBA. And I'm willing to bet that your casual NBA fan was like, you mean the guy who just took his team to the Eastern Conference Finals last year? He's the most overrated player? Well, why is that? And so now when people watch the Pacers, they're paying attention to that dude. Everything Tyrese Haliburton does has now become amplified because of this tag. Now, even if he hadn't been voted the most overrated player in the NBA, people would still be taking notice because he's been great so far through these playoffs. But it just means a little bit more now because he has this, tag of being the most overrated player in the NBA. And the added attention to everything that he's doing because of that tag, this might be the best thing that has happened to him in his career. And it might be something that really kind of sets him up to grow in terms of his stardom. Because he came into the season this year as a guy that everyone was familiar with. The Pacers went to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. He was on the Olympic team. So people knew who he was. But now, because of this label of being, the most overrated player in the NBA, if the Pacers go to back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals after upsetting the Cleveland Cavaliers, especially if they sweep them, after what he's done in these first two rounds, he won't just be a guy that people are aware of. He will become a legitimate superstar across the nation. The Pacers are up 2-0 in this series against Cleveland because Tyrese Haliburton has, delivered twice now in big games. Hit a big series ender against the Bucks in Game 5 to cap that 8-0 run in overtime. Damian Lillard's series clincher against the Trailblazers gave him clout for like a decade. Same thing could happen here with Haliburton between that game winner and then, of course, the one that he had in Game 2 to cap off that crazy comeback. Tyrese Haliburton is going to be known as like one of the most clutch players in the NBA for the rest of his career just because of this season. It's really kind of funny how that works. But how did we get to this point? What had to happen in order for Tyrese Haliburton to be voted the most overrated player in the NBA? Because like I said, everyone was aware of him last year during that run to the Eastern Conference Finals. But he really burst onto the scene at the start of last year. He was an all-star starter for the first time. He became the face of the Pacers. He was selected to the Olympic team last summer. He went on that run to the Eastern Conference Finals, had a couple big games, went for 26, Game 7, Madison Square Garden, as the Pacers bounced the Knicks. But a lot of it was discredited because the teams that the Pacers played against were incredibly banged up, and they got swept by the Celtics when they finally played a healthy team. Is that fair? Absolutely not, because that Celtics team last year was awesome. All of that, though, was the best thing for him because it's led to him getting this most overrated player label. And I'm willing to bet that part of why he was voted the most overrated player in the NBA was because of that run to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, where they played against a bunch of teams that were banged up. And then he becomes an Olympian, and he doesn't even play. And what's so funny is that's going to be the best thing for his career. Tyrese Haliburton being voted the most overrated player in the NBA is going to be the best thing for him because it has just added a whole nother layer to these game winners and great performances. When people are going on, ESPN, Fox Sports, whatever, and saying something along the lines of like, this is the guy that was voted the most overrated player in the league. Like, what are you talking about? This dude's awesome. And like, that's why there's this boom around him. And it's going to be a very important part of the Starting Five Netflix documentary that Netflix has started doing. They did one last year focusing on Anthony Edwards and LeBron James. This year, I don't know who the other four guys are. One of them, though, is Tyrese Haliburton. And this is going to be a major part of the season for him. Hey, man, like you're voted the most overrated player in the NBA, and then you do this in the first 7 games of the NBA playoffs. You hit two game winners and pull off 2 of the most incredible comebacks we've had in the history of the NBA. And part of this boom is because of this label that he's gotten. And what's so funny is that only 13 people voted for him. Like only 90 players voted in the poll, and there's 15 times 30. So there's 450 players in the NBA. So, like 350 people didn't vote. Only 13 people in the NBA voted for him. And those 13 people are actively helping increase his popularity. And I just love the irony of it. I think it's fantastic. And hopefully Tyrese Haliburton continues balling out of control like he has been. And it's been a blast. When we come back here in about 4 minutes, Colts rookie minicamp starts tomorrow. And I wish we could put it off. I'm not excited. Certain things are going to happen. I'm going to tell you what those things are. And they all just need to be ignored. I'll tell you about it when we come back here in about 4 minutes.
If it's in today's sports world, it's here. The real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. Thanks for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy's Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, maybe you're watching on Twitter, __ Jonathan Smith, if you want to follow me there. You can also listen via the Indy Sports Ticket app, which you can download anywhere that you get your apps. You can listen to me there. You can listen to the Dan Dockett Show from noon to 3 there. And if you want a little bit more from me, you can go check out the My Take Is YouTube page. And what I don't need any more of is, media people around here talking about the Colts, because it's coming, people. Tomorrow begins the Colts rookie camp. It's May 9th, runs through the 11th, and we're going to hear a bunch of stuff about all these different dudes being awesome and great. And, oh, hey, look at this undrafted rookie. He's going to be awesome, and blah, 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 blah. Chris Ballard got another steal, blah, 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 blah. All that good stuff. And I would just like to take a moment to remind you that Adonai Mitchell, second-round pick out of Texas, showed up at Colts rookie camp last year and dominated. He was a big story coming out like, oh, man, this guy's a real X-wide receiver. Watch out. And then he barely played. People raved about him and his performance against these undrafted rookie corners. And that's a good thing. Okay, your high draft picks should look awesome against the undrafted rookies that show up to rookie camp. And I'm saying this because Tyler Warren is probably going to be dominant. And we're going to hear a lot about it. But it means nothing. Him beating up on players that aren't going to be on an NFL roster when the season starts means nothing. It means nothing. Like, who cares? Hey, Tyler Warren just snagged on this undrafted dude who played at Ouachita Baptist. Who cares? I also hope that we don't get some annoying number saga with Tyler Warren. Zaire Franklin has number 44. What number is Tyler Warren going to wear? I don't care. I just hope he's good. The whole thing with, Abdul Carter in New York asking for Lawrence Taylor's number is insane. Like, just go get your own number, man. Go build your own legacy. The best figures in the history of sports have their own number associated with them. When you see 23, you probably think of Michael Jordan. When you see 24, you probably think of Kobe Bryant. When I see the number 10, I think of Lionel Messi. When I see the number 7, I think of Cristiano Ronaldo. 56, that's obviously Lawrence Taylor. 18 is Peyton Manning. 41 is Dirk Nowitzki. Go get your own number and just own that number. I think the best example going right now is Luka has the number 77. And right now, when I see the number 77, I think of Luka. Grabbing someone else's number isn't cool. Be yourself. Build your own legacy. And this is why I like Tyler Warren. He just seems like the type to not care. He'll wear number 99. I promise you, Tyler Warren does not care about this at all. I'm sure he's a little disappointed. I was really hoping to be 44. But it's going to be okay. I'm going to wear 45 instead. And I'm going to be awesome. Okay, he's not the type to make a big deal out of this. He's going to take some other number that's not 44, and he's hopefully going to be awesome. If he's as good as everyone thinks he's going to be, then whatever number he wears will be associated with him in Indianapolis for a long time. Okay, and I hope he's that good. I hope he's that kind of a player, because that's a special dude for numbers to be directly associated with you. When I think about numbers associated with former athletes in Indianapolis, Peyton Manning is 18. Marvin Harrison's 81. Reggie Wayne is 87. Dwight Freeney's 93. So on and so forth. Okay, those are the first 4 Colts that came to mind. 44 is Dallas Clark. Right, so those are the 5 guys that I would directly associate a number with. Okay, and for the Pacers, like I'd obviously associate 31 with Reggie Miller. Maybe Jermaine O'Neal was 7. Like aside from that, 0 is going to be Haliburton if he stays here for a long time. And hopefully, when Tyler Warren's career is done, his number will be associated with him. And hopefully we hear that he dominated rookie camp because that's what he should do. Like I'm not anti, high draft picks dominating rookie camp. I'm anti people making a big deal out of it because it means nothing. That's what he should do. He's going to be the best player on the field Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. He should be. He's a 14th overall pick. We should hear stories about him jumping over 3 dudes in the end zone and then hauling in a pass one-handed. That's what it should be. He should be dominant. I am expecting to hear stories about how dominant he is, but it means nothing. A lot of the guys that he's going to be competing against Friday, Saturday, and Sunday aren't going to be on NFL rosters when the season starts, let alone starting caliber NFL players. Again, A.D. Mitchell last year, awesome in rookie camp. Talked about it a lot. Oh, he's creating all this separation and he's, doing all this, making plays, running away from dudes. Good. He should. He was a second-round pick. It's the same thing this year for Tyler Warren. Okay, we're going to see articles about how great he was and, Riley Leonard, and Tyler Warren have formed an amazing connection and they've only been together for a couple of weeks and blah, 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 blah. Who cares? Means nothing. Means nothing. Okay? Like what Tyler Warren and the rest of the drafted guys do this week in rookie camp means less than the Anthony Richardson throwing videos that you and I have seen. Okay? Once again, it means absolutely nothing. And in addition to it, I talked about this earlier in the show, and Joe C., who watches like every show on YouTube, which I'm very, very grateful for. Thank you, Joe C., for tuning in as often as you do. If you want to be part of the conversation, head over to YouTube, Indie Sports Ticket. You can chime in there. He mentioned, we need to probably lower our expectations a little bit for Tyler Warren. And I'm with him. Tyler Warren is very talented. Probably going to be a week 1 starter. Going to play a lot of downs this year for the Colts, hopefully. But we need to remember that his quarterback's either going to be Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones. And it's hard to be truly elite when your starting quarterback is Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson. Now, to be fair, Brock Bowers was awesome last year, and he had 3 different quarterbacks, from Aiden O'Connell, who's not very good, to Gardner Minshew, who really struggled, to Desmond Ridder. Not great. And he still had, he was still the best tight end in the NFL last year. But Tyler Warren's not Brock Bowers. As much as I love Tyler Warren, they're very different. And I think what's very different about them is how they get open. Like, Tyler Warren is just bigger than people. And he's going to push people around and, do that kind of stuff. Brock Bowers is not that. Brock Bowers is a crisp route runner and creates separation from defenders. And that is something that I'm very intrigued to see with how it goes if Anthony Richardson winds up being the starter, which is what I am expecting. Because my thing with Anthony Richardson is you would want for that guy to have as big a window as possible to throw the football into. And when you look at Tyler Warren, it's like this dude's huge. Big target. That's great. You can have a big target, but a small window. That is very possible. Kurt Van, thank you. Marvin Harrison was 88, not 81. Don't know where I got that from. My bad. Anyway, where did I get that from? That's going to bother me now. Apologies. Anthony Richardson needs to throw the football into as big a windows as possible. And a bigger target, like Tyler Warren, doesn't necessarily mean a bigger window. Because it's the guys who separate from defenders who create bigger windows. Okay, now obviously, when Tyler Warren's open and there's not a defender within 5 yards of him, versus when Josh Downs is open and there's not a defender within 5 yards of him. You'd rather throw it to Warren if you have an inaccurate quarterback because the target's bigger. But there are going to be downs where Josh Downs, the window is bigger throwing to him because he creates 4 yards of separation from whoever's defending him. Whereas that's not really who Tyler Warren is. He boxes out smaller defenders and goes up and he makes a play. When linebackers cover him, it's the same thing because he's bigger than linebackers. He doesn't run from them in the same way that Brock Bowers does. So I'll actually be very intrigued to see how they use Tyler Warren if Anthony Richardson winds up being the starter, knowing the lack of accuracy that Anthony Richardson has. If it's Daniel Jones, I don't think it'll be a problem. If it's Daniel Jones, I think we're going to get a heavy dose of Tyler Warren this year because Daniel Jones is the check down king. Why throw the ball, 12 yards down the field and you can throw it 5 yards down the field? I don't know. It's a great question. So, very intrigued to see what Tyler Warren looks like. Hopefully we get awesome stories of how he's played coming out of rookie camp this year. And hopefully, the Colts find the best way possible to get that guy involved in the offense because he appears to be a very, very special talent. And that's what the Colts need. They need more dudes who are very talented. That's what they need. And hopefully, it's not guaranteed, but hopefully, Tyler Warren is that kind of guy. Pacers and Cavaliers tomorrow night, game 3. Go if you can. Be loud. Gamebridge is going to be absolutely rocking. It's going to be a madhouse. And I can't wait for that game. It's a real opportunity to put those dudes away. And as of right now, the Pacers are 2.5-point underdogs, which is kind of surprising, but I get it. Backs against the wall. Probably shouldn't have won game 2. They figured out a way to do it anyway. Still waiting to hear on injury updates on guys like Evan Mobley and Darius Garland and DeAndre Hunter, because, if any one of those 3 guys comes back, then the challenge of beating the Cavaliers becomes significantly harder. But with the game being at home, just the energy in the building, I do expect for the Indiana Pacers to win tomorrow night. Once again, we'll find out more about the injuries when we come back or later on during the day. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to tune into the Real Jonathan Smith Show. I greatly appreciate it. I'll be back on the air tomorrow from 10 to noon to get you ready for Pacers and Cavaliers game 3. The NBA continues to be crazy. I'm sure Warriors and Timberwolves will be crazy tonight, even with, Steph Curry not playing. But the Dan Atkins Show comes your way next. Sean McDonough coming on at 12:30, and then the great Mark Boyle on at 2:30. Going to be a great, great, great show. Make sure you stay here and you check it out. The Dan Atkins Show comes your way here in about 5 minutes.